Hello and welcome back to Spooktober. I know I haven't done many of these lengthy reviews in a while, and I'm back just in time to kick off the Halloween season. So, where better to start than with the new haunted mystery, A Haunting in Venice. Now, A Haunting in Venice is the third entry in Kenneth Branagh's interpretation of the Agatha Christie Poirot mystery novels. This is also the second adaptation of this specific story, Halloween Party, but the first one made for the big screen after the first adaptation was just a lengthy Halloween special for the David Suchet Poirot TV show. Now, I guess in terms of where this fits in the Kenneth Branagh Poirot movies, I think this is the best one by far. I actually did enjoy Murder on the Orient Express. I think that one was severely underrated. It wasn't perfect, but it kept things afloat. It had a really good pace. Death on the Nile, on the other hand, was easily the weakest. I thought the editing absolutely destroyed it. And another big factor that really took it down for me was the lengthy exchange of dialogue that just pretty much explained all of the other characters' motivations before we even got to know them. And that's what makes this review kind of tricky, because this is a mystery movie, a murder mystery movie, and this also is a horror film. Now, in terms of where to judge the two, I like to have it done as a mix. So I'm going to kind of judge it based on the elements that are present here. But first, let's talk about the good stuff that is in this movie. One of the horror aspects, which is great about this movie, is another standout performance from Michelle Yeoh. She plays this medium who is called in to contact the spirit of a dead girl who died at that palazzo. But when she tries to reach out, Poirot is skeptical and tries to debunk her, which he initially does mid-seance, but then as soon as he debunks that, it's like the shit hits the fan, because she is in the chair, she gets kicked back and is thrown in a turn spin and speaks in the voice of the dead girl and says that she was murdered. And then the next thing we know, the medium is dead. And slight spoilers, there clearly is a killer here that doesn't want to be known. And now Poirot is starting to see things. And this is what is great about this movie. We're psychologically diving into what Poirot thinks about this. And that's what makes this really juicy and interesting. The cinematography is off the charts in this movie. It is grand, it is gothic, it is dripping with this eerie atmosphere that just makes you so uncomfortable. And I love it. So that's instantly brownie points right there. But the next best part about this is the characters. There is another great A-list cast that is brought on, and everyone is bringing their A game, with the real standout being Tina Fey as a mystery writer that is clearly taking inspiration from Agatha Christie, and she has to team up with Poirot to solve the current mystery that happens at this palazzo in Venice. So from a storytelling perspective, all of that is great. But now let's go on to the mixed stuff in this movie. So this isn't good or bad. It's just something that I think is what really anchors it down and stops it from being, if anything, really outstanding. And this is just a small gripe, and like I said earlier, the editing is good. But when it comes to the horror aspects of this movie, what they choose to do with the editing, they make it instead focusing on jump scares. A large majority of the time, it focuses on jump scares, with the exception of Poirot's psychological challenges and that seance scene, which was really great. They rely quite heavily on jump scares, which is what I found really interesting, especially for a movie like this. Now, not that there's anything wrong with a nice jump scare. I think it's effective once in a while, but when it starts to overtake the movie, that's when it can get pretty old very fast. Again, he mentions how he wants to debunk the supernatural. He doesn't believe in an afterlife. He's seen too much bad in the world. As soon as he talks to the writer about this, boom, a chandelier crashes down onto the floor, causing a panic in everyone. You're constantly thinking, what the heck is going on here? And it's gimmicky edits like that exist throughout most of the movie, and that's what makes it really distracting. at least from a horror perspective. Now, again, that isn't a bad thing, but it is required, I think, in taste of what you're going for from a horror movie. For me, it just doesn't do it. I don't like an over-reliance on jump scares, so that's what weighs it down for me. But thankfully, there is a lot of good here that does outweigh that negative. So thankfully, when it comes to reaching a consensus about this movie, I am gratefully going to award A Haunting in Venice 5 out of 5 lightsabers. It isn't perfect, it does have a flaw here and there, but it's really enjoyable, it's highly entertaining, and I highly recommend it. Again, A Haunting in Venice isn't really that scary, but there is enough great acting, good storytelling, and gorgeous, eerie, gothic cinematography that I think will win any horror fan over and provide, at the very least, a nice, decent Halloween treat for anyone who wants to see a movie around this time of year. Thank you so much for tuning in to my first Spooktober review this year. Tune in next week where I will tackle The Nun 2. Please drop a comment down below, like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you next week for the next review. Take care.